everyone, Tamara here. Today I would like to talk to you about a new way that you can edge out your rag quilt. I tried this the other day, I love how it turned out, and I can't wait to show it to you. So if you're new to my channel, maybe you don't know, but I love rag quilts and I've made a lot of rag quilts. So of course, if you're interested in rag quilts, please subscribe. I have made so many different rag quilts, and each and every time they are edged like this. Your normal average rag quilt edging, where you just snip along the edge and give it that rag quilt feel, which I like, but this new way is just a fun and different way that you can try, especially if you're like me and you're always making rag quilts, then it's nice to try something new every now and again. I do have another rag quilt that has a similar edging than the last one I just showed you, which is my scalloped edges rag quilt, which it does give the edge of your rag quilt a little bit something different, but this new way I love, and I'm probably going to start doing it on a lot of my normal rag quilts. So, do you want to see it? After all that, are you waiting? You're like, don't show me my old rag quilts, show me the new one? Okay, here it is. This is how I edged out the new rag quilt. What do you think? What I like about it is that you have your nice thick ragged edging still. However, it's laying on top of the fabric, so it's not starting to look a bit worn out. Let's see, let me show you. So actually this one, because it's thinner and I didn't use as much fabric for these, along the edges, you're ragging, I mean, all rag quilts look like this. This is how the edges look, and that's fine. But the inside of your rag quilt always looks that much nicer. A nice thick ragged line, which I love. So to get that nice thick rag line for your outer edges, you need to add your own binding. So this is how you're going to add your own binding. Let me show you. So you've got your rag quilt that you've sewn, and you'll fold your outer pieces. I never do that for the inside pieces. The inside pieces, I always nest my edges and then I sew. But for this, for the outer edges, and like I said, all my outer edges, you'll fold these outer pieces open. And then you'll take a 3-inch piece of fabric, and I did double. In one of my other tutorials, I mentioned that I thought maybe it'd be pretty cool to try it triple. And if you are going to try it triple, it's just going to be hard for your sewing machine to push it through all of that fabric unless you let up on that presser foot. So that's just something to note. So if you're going to do this, start with 2 pieces of fabric first. So I cut out 2 strips 3 inches wide, and then as long as I needed for the entire blanket. I did have to sew some pieces together to get that length. Let me show you if I can find it. Come on. I did such a good job, I hid it from myself. Here it is. Okay, so before I added the binding, so that I could make it extra long, I sewed these strips together so that I had one really long piece of binding. That's what I did. So then you'll take that strip that you've created. All right, so I'm just going to quickly interrupt myself here and mention something that I forgot, which is take that strip that you've created, fold it in half, and then iron it. It will make it a lot easier to do the next step. And you'll want to add it to that edge. There are 2 ways to do this. I did it one way, and honestly, I like it, but the other way I think could look a little bit tidier. So this is the first way. So you'll fold your 2-piece strip of fabric over the outer edge, so it'll look like that. And then you'll sew a 1/2-inch seam all the way around, and you'll end up with this edge that you will snip and rag. And that's what I did essentially for this rag quilt here. So I folded it over, and then when I got to the corners, I'll insert a clip here on how I folded the corners. What I would recommend is that you make sure that these folds are nested together. That way, when you're going through your sewing machine, the added bulk is kind of evenly distributed instead of all in one section, because that will make it a lot harder for your needle to get through. And if at any point you're finding that your fabric is not moving through the machine, the needle is just staying put, then it means the feed dogs are not able to pull all of that fabric through. So just lift up a tiny bit on your presser foot and it will help the feed dogs do their job and push through that thicker section of fabric. But once you've folded your binding on all of the edges, then you'll get to a part right here. Again, I'll insert a video for this. And you'll be able to fold over that end and then pin it. That way when you sew all the way around, you don't have any outer edge that you would feel the need, I guess, to rag, because that would be silly. You just have the one line for ragging, so don't do that. So that this one I cut too short, so I actually did sew a seam along here as well. I don't think that you would need to if you didn't cut it as short as I did, but either way. Once everything is pinned, take it to the sewing machine and do that 1/2 inch seam all the way around. And then it's time to do the snipping. So once I sewed all the way along the outer edge and essentially added the binding, then I snipped all the way along there and I snipped all the way along the back. So this is where it could be done two ways. The backing, I did not pre-lint this lovely blanket. It came out of the dryer and I took it here to talk to you. So my apologies, I will have to de-lint that later. But besides that, let's talk about the back. The back is ragged doing this effect. And I don't know how I feel about it. It turned out great. I really like the ragging laying on top of the fabric along the outer edges. I think it gives it a nicer, thicker ragged look, which is great. But on the back of your blanket, you're not really used to having that ragged feeling. So if you wanted to do it a different way, then what you would do is you would take that piece of fabric, you would leave the outer edges alone on the front of your fabric, but on the back, instead of leaving it like that, you would want, and you'd probably want to do this with your iron first, is you'll fold that in and then you'll clip it. That way on the back side, your seam is just gonna neatly go along here and you won't have any ragging on the back side of your blanket, but you'll still be able to do that ragged look on the front. So that's the two differences between this binding. Other than that, it's a very simple way to change your rag quilts and do a different type of edge. And I hope that you'll try it. I love how it turned out. It's so pretty, isn't it? So this blanket in particular, I did as the no cutting rag quilt method just because I wanted something to sample and see if I even liked this. Now that I like it, I would definitely put the extra effort in when making my other rag quilts and having the different fabric squares and also adding the batting in, so then of course your blanket has that crisscross look, and add that edging. I love it. So anyways, I hope you liked this tutorial. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button, click that notification bell so that you don't miss a thing, and subscribe for more creative content. Thank you. See you next time.